continuing learning the laws of Pesach, and we are on Siman Taf Ein Gimel Dalid, which is 473, 4 in the Shulchan Aruch, and we'll be doing the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah. And we'll be talking about the Seder Plate, the different things that go on the Seder Plate, why those things go on the Seder Plate, what they should be. Now, when actually making the Seder Plate, the easiest thing to do is to look in a Haggadah, and on the front page of the Haggadah they have how to make the Seder Plate. And we usually do Nusach Arizal. There's two. There's usually they have the Arizal's Seder Plate. I believe that's what most people do. So that's the easiest thing to do. It's very hard to describe where everything goes on an online class, but we'll be learning the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, and the Mishnah Berurah, discussing not a little bit where everything goes, but what everything is and how that works. So we'll do little by little. Mevin lifnei bal habayis ka'ira. You bring the Seder Plate, the kaira, in front of the one leading the Seder. Now, the Mishnah Berurah writes here, Mevin lifnei bal habayis aval lifnei shar b'nei beso ein tzarich laniya k'seder hazeh. You don't have to bring a Seder Plate in front of each person. Elakula Naitlin Mishal Balabayas, but everyone takes from the Seder Plate of the Balabayas, the one running the Seder. They used to have that instead of everyone sitting at a big table, everyone would have like a little table in front of them, and they would have the Seder that way. So even if your Seder is set up like that, even in such a case, everyone does not have their own Seder Plate. All the more so in our locales where we all sit at the same table, there's a Seder Plate just in front of the one running the Seder. Sheyesh bo shalosh matzos. So what do we have in the Seder Plate? So, or the kaira. So I grew up with a Seder Plate. It was just like a plate, and the matzah went on the side. But really, you have you can get the silver ones in Lakewood. You have the Seder Plate on top, and then you have 3 levels for the 3 matzahs that you put underneath the Seder Plate. So, what's in the Seder Plate? Sheish bo shalosh matzos. We have 3 matzahs. Maror, the bitter herbs. The charoses, that's the mixture of like apple and cinnamon and nuts, things like that, and wine. The charpas, and the karpas, which is the vegetable. O yerek acher, or a different vegetable. We use celery. The chometz o memelach, and you also have vinegar or salt water. Ushnei tavshilin, and 2 cooked dishes. Echad zeichel lePesach, ve'echad zeichel leChagiga. One of the cooked dishes is to remember the Passover sacrifice, and one of the dishes is to remember the Chagiga. So what is each of these? So the Pesach sacrifice was a big mitzvah of the Seder night, which we don't have anymore because the temple has been destroyed. But everyone would go to Jerusalem and form groups, and they would each bring a sacrifice to the temple, Erev Pesach, the night before Pesach, and it would be slaughtered by the Kohen, and everyone would eat this Pesach sacrifice at the Seder. And that was a big part of the Seder. You know how we have the Hillel sandwich, we have just the matzah, the charoses, and the maror. So back in the day, you had the matzah, the Pesach sacrifice, which was a lamb, and the maror and the matzah there. That was the Pesach sacrifice. Now we don't have that anymore because we don't have a temple. So we have a remembrance of the Pesach sacrifice on the Seder Plate. Now also we have something to remember, the Chagiga. What's the Chagiga? The Chagiga, the Pesach sacrifice has to be eaten when a person is full, when he's satiated. So in order to make sure that a person is satiated, they brought another sacrifice called the Chagiga, which was for the Yontif itself, and that was eaten before at the Seder night. It was eaten before the Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach was eaten at the end. So we also don't bring a Chagiga, a Korban Chagiga anymore, a Chagiga sacrifice, because there's no temple. So we have a remembrance. We have a cooked dish, another cooked dish on the Seder Plate to remember the Chagiga. V'nagu b'basar u'beya, and the custom is to have one with meat and one is an egg. V'yasadar hakara lefanav. Okay, so we have an egg. We always have an egg on the Seder Plate. So that's for the Chagiga. That's for the sacrifice. So if you never knew what the egg on the if you never If you never knew what the sacrifice is, now you do. It's for the Korban Chagiga. Okay. And it says the Ramah, "V'yisader hakayr lefanav ve'inin she'enot tzarich la'avar al mitzvahs." You should set up the Seder plate so you don't have to pass over the mitzvahs. No pun intended. The hainu akarpas yehei lamala min hakol. The karpas should be above because the karpas is the first thing in the Seder. V'chomet samach lo yoser min hamatzah. And the vinegar, which really we use salt water, should be closer than the matzah because you dip the karpas in the salt water. V'hamatzos min hamor necharoses. And the matzahs from the mar and the charoses, because you have the matzah before you have the mar and charoses. We don't want to have to go over a mitzvah to get to another mitzvah. You don't want to have the matzah first, so you have to go over the matzah in order to get the karpas. And they should be closer than the meat and the egg. And the custom is that the meat is a zroa, is an arm, is a shank bone. And the custom is that this bone on the Seder plate should be roasted. The reason is because the alagachalam on coals. The reason is because there was a rule that the Korban Pesach had to be roasted. You can't cook it. It has to be roasted. Means dry heat, meaning not in water at all. And the beya, the egg, should be cooked. But the Ramah says that the custom is to also roast the egg. And that's what we do in our cities. Okay. So that's just basically the items on the Seder plate. We have the karpas. We'll discuss what that is, or another vegetable. We have 2 dishes, which is, as we said, a remembrance of the Paschal sacrifice and the Chagiga sacrifice. We have 3 matzahs, which we obviously know. And we have the maror and the charoses and the salt water. And that just covers, and as we said, the custom is that the shank bone, the meat should be a shank bone, should be a bone, and it should have some meat on it. It shouldn't be just a bone. And it should be roasted as a remembrance of the Paschal sacrifice. So that's just the basic items what's on the Seder plate. We just did the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. We did one little Mishnah Berurah, and next time we'll continue with the Mishnah Berurah, getting more into detail about each of these items, and wishing everyone a beautiful day.